Please enjoy this uninterrupted conversation brought to you by Career Bond, a career education marketplace that brings pre qualified adult enrollees directly to partner schools. If you're looking to fill seats in a career focused program, visit careerbond.com. That's career bond, BOND.com, to see how you could leverage their audience of hundreds of thousands of adult learners. Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Elvin Freitas, co-founder of the EdUp Experience. We are back on another episode, and with me, my co-host for this one is Darius Goldman, founder and CEO at Career Bond. Darius, how you doing? Welcome back.
Doing great, Elvin. Always fun to do this.
Absolutely. So let's bring in our guest today. He is Dr. Evan Kropp, and he is Executive Director of the College of Journalism and Communications at the University of Florida. Evan, how you doing today?
I am very well. Thank you for having me, Elvin.
Absolutely. So, Evan, tell us all about what you do and how do you do it?
Yeah, absolutely. My role at the University of Florida is a bit different than perhaps many other roles that you'll find throughout higher education. Primarily, my first responsibility area is of our online graduate programs. So we run an entrepreneurial activity of online graduate programs, which consist of one master's degree with 7 different concentrations and 5 graduate certificates. We enroll currently about 650 students in those programs, and they've been around since 2012. So we've got some good experience doing what we do, and I oversee all of the operations. So I am hiring and overseeing faculty, managing marketing, admissions processes, student support, working with our faculty on curriculum design and curriculum implementation. And then I also handle and work as the representative for our college for our undergraduate online activities, which is centralized at the University of Florida. So the central offices handle all of the administrative duties, and then we collaborate with them as a college as far as programs, courses, student support, things of that nature. So in addition to all of those things, I usually teach 2, 3, 4 classes a semester, and really just spend my time working on making sure the students are getting what they need out of our programs and that they are graduating with the knowledge and skills necessary to obtain employment. And we do have the programs that I see are very specifically focused on career prep and professional orientation.
Wow. So in your calendar, do you have a little section that says bathroom break? I mean, seriously, you got so much going on. That's crazy. Hey, listen, I know you got a book coming out. Talk to us about the book real quick, and now I'll pass it over to Darius.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. It is tentatively titled University Teaching in the Digital Age. It will be coming out with Cognella Publishing. And the purpose of the book for me really rose out of personal experience and then professional observation. And what I've found in my administrative role and my experience as a student, a master's student, a PhD student, and somebody who went on to teach was that teacher preparation is fundamentally lacking. We don't necessarily focus on preparing higher education professors to teach. We prepare them in master's programs and PhD programs to be researchers, and then teaching is often a secondary activity. Or we hire professionals who are amazing subject matter experts based on their professional experience, but again, they don't have that experience teaching. And today more than ever, teaching is not simply walking into a classroom and speaking as the sage on the stage for an hour or two and having students sit there and take notes and then give them a test and see if they've kind of acquired the knowledge that you've laid out. Teaching has become much more complex. We are seeing a greater variety of students, whether it be age, socioeconomic background, preparation that they have at their lower levels of education coming into higher education. And we really need to rely more on the science of learning. How do people learn? How do we approach the classroom? What do we need to do in the classroom to help these students be more successful? So the book really focuses on that. It provides a contextualization and background of higher education and how it's evolved and how the role of teaching has evolved. And then its primary purpose is for new faculty members to say, okay, here is the missing piece of information that I need. Here is how to prepare a syllabus, how to organize a class, how to think about the outcomes for the students, and design a really good class that we make sure students are learning in. So that's going to be coming out in the next 10 to 12 months, late 2026, at the latest January 27th.
Fantastic. Well, fingers crossed, everything works out. Sounds like a great book. Thanks for that. I appreciate that. Darius, over to you, sir.
Awesome. So much we could talk into in trying to keep this orderly to, like, since we only have one episode, I would love to bring in this theme of how do people learn and how do people learn online, which is your expertise. During the pre-call, we were talking a little bit about the differences between Gen Z and the adult learner. I think there's so much right there that we could jump into. You mentioned career training. You mentioned that the programs that University of Florida offers for online graduate programs, 7 different concentrations and 5 grad certificates. And then you also said that you oversee the undergraduate online programs. Where I'd love to start is, what's the difference between a grad certificate, a graduate level concentration, and just regular online undergraduate program? Like, let's start to categorize or double click in how adult learners actually do learn online.
Yep. Yeah, there are a lot of credentials and types of credentials being thrown out through the education marketplace these days. You hear certificate, you hear badge, you hear degree, and unfortunately, there is some confusion because people are using those terms differently. For me and my programs, we have one master's degree. It's a Master of Arts in Mass Communication. And then we've split that one master's degree into 7 different concentrations. So basically what we're doing in our strategy is to say to the students, there's a centralized foundation of information you need in order to get this degree in mass communication. That generally focuses around the research methods and the theory that are more of the traditional approaches to the field. After that, we see the need for the specialized skills and knowledge. So, for example, one concentration is social media. Another concentration is web design. Another one is digital marketing strategy. So students can take a diverse field like communications and really hone those skills and say, I want to be a social media professional. What do I need to do? Driving traffic or strategic use of communication platforms to achieve business goals is one thing, but also being an expert in, let's say, global communication and understanding how you need to communicate to diverse audiences is very important. And that might be a subpart of the work of social media or somebody working alongside social media as well. Now, a graduate degree is a big commitment. It's generally 30, 36 credits. You're talking anywhere, depending on the school, from $15,000, $20,000 up to $100,000. You're talking about a big time commitment as well. And not everybody has the ability to fully commit to a full degree. So for us, we're utilizing graduate certificates, and we're saying, okay, take 4 classes from either of these programs that are just focused on the specific knowledge and skills of that area. So social media, you could take 4 social media classes and you could get a social media certificate. If you want that quick credential, great. You now have a graduate level certificate, which that's important to a consideration here, graduate level, right? So you need to be admitted and you need to have a bachelor's degree already, and you need to you need to complete graduate level work, the same level of work that you're completing in the master's degree in the graduate certificate, versus just a certificate that perhaps is open enrollment and anybody can sign up for. So our credential, we place it a little bit higher because there is a higher barrier to entry on that. And we also make it as flexible as possible. So I try and use the certificates for students who can't make the big commitment to a master's, are not sure about the big commitment to the master's. So they can start with something smaller and then choose to continue on if they want to, applying those credits to their future full master's degree. Conversely, it gives students the opportunity to focus in an area. So if I have a student who's majoring in a concentration of global strategic communication, but they want to embed a graduate certificate within that master's degree, they then walk away with 2 credentials for the time and price of 1 that also speak more clearly to their employers to say, yes, this is a global communication expert with a specialty in something like social media. So it allows us to leverage different avenues for students to gain the education that they need specific to their circumstance, as opposed to just one, degree kind of fulfilling the needs for everybody.
I like that, and I think the theme is it's almost the debundling of education. It's a la carte education. What do you need for your particular circumstances, for your particular career?
Yeah.
You mentioned, and I just want to clarify this, but you mentioned that your grad certificates could stack into a full online master's.
Yes.
I think that's awesome because you said it, I didn't. You said it's expensive and it's timely. And
Yep.
As a general statement, not just University of Florida, right? But
Yeah.
so for someone, a working professional who comes in, okay, let's use the social media example, which I think is super relevant given how social media is the new search, is the new Google. So someone could come in, they could take 1 or 2 courses, they could learn some actionable skills for their current job or maybe the job they're hoping to get, do it online, part-time, after the kids go to bed, but then realize that they either like really have a calling for this, they really love it, or they, that itch has now gotten deeper. They want to really master it, but they're not penalized for the 2 courses they already took. That could lead into a full-blown master's.
Yep. And
I
it
don't think
allows people also to switch. If they start in one area and want to switch to another, well, they could just maybe finish one class and take that credential along with them to another one, which is really great for them because, we don't want people taking classes and pursuing things and then switching and having classes that don't count. Then they've spent a lot of extra money and extra time to go through that program. So we want to make sure that we're guiding them in a way in which they can be as efficient as possible.
Absolutely. Do you know, and this would be anecdotal because you can't speak for everyone, but do most schools allow that type of stacking, or traditionally are most schools one or the other?
We're definitely seeing a movement towards more of it. Whether or not it's proliferating quickly throughout higher education, I don't think it's happening as quickly as those who advocate for it would like it to happen. I think it absolutely makes sense. And one of the examples that I give people is a working journalist. So we have a journalism program, and if I have a journalist who's been working 10, 15, 20 years and they're excellent story writers and they know how to go out and they know how to interview and find sources and do all of the things that make a great journalist, they probably don't want to come back and get a full master's degree because most of the classes are going to start with the basic writing and reporting skills that they've already mastered. And why are we going to force them to take those classes again? They're easy A's, waste of time and money for the most part, if you will. But that professional is often realizing, hey, I graduated from college and I've been working a decade or two. These newer graduates are coming through with skills that I don't have. And some of my friends that graduated with me as journalists, they tell me stories. They used to go out into the field and they'd get a story and they'd have a video person with them and a film photographer with them, and they go out as a group and they capture the story. And now they go out by themselves with their iPhone. And they have to capture the content and they have to get video, and it's their responsibility to get the sound bites. And a lot of them don't know how to do that. So they can come back to school and upskill with a quicker graduate certificate than going through an entire program. That makes that credential that much more appealing to that individual because it's directly serving their needs. So that's really what we're trying to do is determine what the needs are of people in the marketplace and then be able to serve those needs as efficiently as possible.
I absolutely agree. The era of 4 or 8 years of learning and then you're set for life is absolutely over. Like without a doubt, that era is over. If you are now, I'd say 10 years, but 5 years, 2 years out of best practices, you're a dinosaur, especially with AI augmentation. So I hear you on that. I'm actually wondering, because of how quick things are evolving, so there is that need for lifelong learning or continued career accelerated learning. AI in journalism, since this is your area of expertise, AI is impacting a lot of careers. But in journalism, particularly where AI could write the whole article for you, I'm sure it has more nuanced implications. Like, is this a topic du jour at the university?
Yeah, it's a topic du jour everywhere. I go to all of the education conferences throughout the year, and everything is AI. And it really, I think last year, 2 years, I think a lot of people were scared. The word AI was thrown out there, all this news about how fast things were advancing and how people need to upskill and get ready and blah, 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 blah. And I feel like we've slowed that a little bit, and that's a good thing. And now we are just starting to look back and say, okay, how is this being used? How should this be taught? We really don't need to go into classrooms and say, no AI allowed in my classroom. For me, that's not reality. When you go to work, they don't go, no AI allowed at work. We don't want you to be more efficient. We don't want you to be X or Y. What's most important is that we, as educational administrators, talk to our advisory boards. We talk to our alumni, and we say to them, how are you currently using AI at your job? So as you say, yeah, an AI could write an article for a journalist. Sure, it could. Are journalists doing that? No, they're not. What are people using it for? How should we be using it? Should we use it to ideate on stories? Should we be using it as a companion to bounce around ideas? Should we be using it as a writing coach, perhaps, to say, hey, here's the idea I want to get across, but I don't know quite how to say it, and get that first draft back from AI? Those are really good uses of AI. And now what we need to do is learn how it's being used in the field and then teach our students how to use it properly so when they get to those jobs, they're ready to use it in the same way as the current professionals. We don't want them catching up and saying, oh, sorry, I don't know how to use AI. My college professor wouldn't allow it, but now that I got this job, I have to figure it all out. That's not what we want to do, because we don't want to do that with AI. We don't want to do that with any other skill that is necessary for our students to have either.
I use AI tremendously, and when people ask me, is it going to replace jobs? I have a takeaway, and my takeaway saying is this: AI is not going to replace your job, but someone who knows AI will replace you in your job, right? Like, if you don't master AI, you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job to a human being who's mastered AI, which is why you need to master it.
Yeah, a good example, we have a copywriting class. It's one of the first classes students in 2 of our concentrations take. And that's also the first time a lot of the students are trying to figure out what their boundaries are with AI. And recently we had a situation where a student submitted a press release that was fully written by AI. And the instructor turned around and said, no, like, this is not okay. When you go out into your work, you can't just say, hey, give me a press release, take it and send it out. You need to know how to write a press release because you need to know what the components are. You need to know what the structure is. You need to know what information to include and what information not to include. There are, various elements that go into that press release. So if you just give it to AI, you don't know if those elements are in there or not. You can't assess for yourself whether or not what it's given back to you is good or not. So through conversation with the faculty member, what we ended up doing was saying, okay, we're going to have assignment number one, and we're going to tell students after we teach them about press releases, we're going to have them practice writing a press release. And the assignment's going to say absolutely zero use of AI allowed. Like, don't use it at all. We want you to generate this yourself. So now we can see if they understand what the rules and the conventions are of writing. Then we have a subsequent assignment. And that assignment says, now take what you've written and put it into AI and see what comes out. And we're teaching them, number one, prompt engineering. We're teaching them how to ask AI to evaluate what they have put in. And then we're teaching them critical thinking to look at the product from AI and not saying, oh, because it came from AI, it's better than anything I produced and it's right. No, you're looking at it and you're going, where did it go right? Where did it go wrong? What should I take? What should I not take? So how we approach it is the most important thing right now for us.
No, I agree. I agree with that. It's to me, that's the difference between understanding something and memorizing something. When I was in law school, we would brief cases, and you do this manually. There were books, this is before AI. There were books that like already had them briefed for you so that people could cheat and like show up with like the case pre-briefed. But that's just memorization. And when you're reading hundreds and hundreds of cases, thousands of cases, probably by the end of 3 years, you can't memorize all that. But like if you learn to break it down, issue, rule, analysis, conclusion, now you've learned how to brief a case. And same with AI. If you just said AI, brief a case, you're not going to understand the components. But if you say AI, focus on the issue of this case, focus on the rule, focus on the analysis, focus on the conclusion, now you've broken AI into components. That's like, to me, that's how you master it. That's how you use it as a tool. I do use it extensively. I treat it like a very smart intern. Like it knows more than me, but it's not better than me. So you have to continue guide it. You cannot. I always laugh when you see, particularly on social media, I'll give you the perfect prompt. No, it's not a one prompt. It's not a one trick pony. It's a conversation. It's not AI. You are a master marketing in person with the intelligence of Elon Musk. Give me a way to make $1 million tomorrow. No, it's a conversation. Anyway.
Yep, absolutely. I want to be funny in this speech. Give me something funny to start off with related to whatever, a little tool to help you. Don't write my whole speech for me, but maybe help me be funny.
Can I give you a shocking truth?
Go ahead.
My kids are 16 and 13, and when I'd write my 13-year-olds, their twins, camp letters, AI wouldn't do it for me, but I'd feed in all the bullet points. I'd say, I need to cover all these topics. And it would write the letter for me, but then my daughter called me out on it.
Yeah. Or so you write it and you say, here's the topics they want. Here's what I wrote. Which topics did I forget?
Yeah, exactly. I love it. All right. So we covered AI. Let's talk about the students. I would love professionally, I'm centered around the adult learner that, earlier you called it the non-traditional learner. You're also versed in Gen Z. I'm going to give you your choice of what you would like to talk about, but either Gen Z and what the hell is wrong with them, or the adult learner and that term non-traditional learner, and like two paths, two doors. Which one is less toxic to open?
Yeah, the positive approach, I think, will always be better than the negative.
There we go.
But yeah, it's funny. Gen Z takes a lot of negative feelings and comments, I think, from older generations. But I think as I age, I learned that that's just a repeating system of every generation says, oh, look at this generation now. For me, I think really the biggest switch in the last 20 plus years is this idea of college being a very traditional middle school, high school, college, get a job, get married. This is the path that you have to take. You know, first of all, there's millions. I think the number is 40 million people in the United States who have some college and no degree. And that's not helping those individuals, and especially those individuals who are still carrying debt from that first attempt at college. So a lot of these non-traditional age students that we're talking about, we're not talking about people who just never decided to go to college. We're talking about people maybe who couldn't go to college, or people who started and failed. I was one of those people. I had two false starts myself to college. It didn't take it first. It wasn't comfortable. I wasn't connected. I wasn't learning. I wasn't motivated. I was at college because that's what was expected of me by society. As I got older, my view of what college could do for me changed. And that's generally what we talk about when we talk about traditionally aged students. And we talk about educating them. And we talk about our strategy being one of andragogy and not pedagogy. And andragogy are these adult learning principles that teach us how to teach adults. And we need to understand, for example, adult motivation. As a 18-year-old, you're maybe motivated to go and party and have fun and kill 4 years of your life and, do what's expected of you. As an adult, your motivation is a lot clearer. You're making a conscious decision to say, I've tried life this way. I want to do life this way. In order to change, the college degree is what I need. That is so important because the motivation brings a different student to the classroom. It brings somebody who takes it more seriously. It brings somebody who understands why what you're doing matters. It also brings somebody who's usually been in some sort of professional environment. So they have that professional, that prior experience that they can apply to their learning. So, that's incredibly important as well. I see it myself. When I went through school, I would learn something and you learn it and it's theoretical and you go, oh, okay, like I understand that theory. But like when you go back for your master's degree and you're learning about something, you go, wait a minute, I experienced that. Now I understand that better. It makes a stronger connection in you. The learning is that much stronger as well. So as educators, we need to understand how to approach these different student groups and work with these different student groups to help them be successful, which is probably one of the most challenging parts of these non-traditional learners, because what you end up with is not when I first started teaching in college, I show up, and I have 25 18-year-olds sitting in front of me who all have about the same GPA, about the same high school experience, right? Because they all got into the same university. But now, and especially online, I have a classroom of 25 students, and they range in age from 18 to 70. They have various years of work experience. They have various backgrounds. So how do I teach those people? How do I not necessarily stand in front. I was going to say stand in front of a classroom. We don't like to just stand in front of a classroom these days. But how do I prepare a curriculum that's going to be relevant for both groups, and both groups can understand, and it's not moving too quick for one group or too slow for another. So teaching becomes a little bit more of a challenge as well with those groups.
It does, though. I would say because online learning has accelerate to the point where now it is mainstream, or if not the norm or a norm, I would say that you have the tools at your disposal are greater to achieve that.
Right.
So like for the working adult, they can take the same course at 8:00 at night after dinner versus the kid who maybe wants to do it during working hours on site.
Yeah. I mean, so, there's a stigma to going back to school if you're a little bit older. And I talk to a lot of people and they say, I don't want to sit in a classroom as a 60-year-old with a bunch of 18-year-olds. I'm not going to feel comfortable. It's funny, I also hear from 30-year-olds who go, I don't want to sit in the classroom with a bunch of 20-year-olds. And I go, well, you're not that much older. But it's really about the perspective that people bring. So for online, you can be more anonymous. You can lurk in the class maybe instead of participating, or, not put your picture up or put a younger picture up if that's what you're concerned about. The flexibility, as you mentioned, for the most part, these are, you're dealing with adults who have responsibilities and they have families and they have work, and they're never going to put school before family and work. So at best, Paul LeBlanc, who's the former president of Southern New Hampshire University, this was his line, and I love it, and I use it all the time. Thank you, Paul. And it's, at best, school is a learner's third priority. And it's true. So we need to be there with the flexibility for them. No longer is this, hey, this assignment's due at noon on Thursday, no exceptions or you fail. Student comes to you and they say, hey, I had a little bit of a problem this week. Can I have a few extra days? We now need to learn how to be flexible, because that person's dealing with real life issues, right? We're not just trying to teach them how to be responsible with time. Maybe they know that, but they're just, somebody passed away, there was a deadline at work, kids were sick, whatever it may be. So our approach is different, which is great for those individuals as well. Cost is a huge concern these days. And, if you can take school slowly and have an employer pay for it, ideally, and many employers have reimbursement programs for 1 or 2 classes a semester. So I see the students taking 1 or 2 classes a semester, and they say, great, I'm going to just move at the pace that allows me to do this and get this degree for free. Wonderful, right? There's not that rush to get through it. So there's definitely different approaches that online allows for these non-traditional learners to be flexible. We have at my campus, we have an on-campus program and we have an online program. And most of the on-campus program are individuals going straight from undergrad to grad. And most of the online students are working professionals. And while the on-campus program is fabulous, you're not going to get as many, let's say, 40-year-olds who live in Texas, who have a family, who have a job, to pick up and move to Florida to get their master's degree, right? They don't want to disrupt their whole lives for that. So now with the online, they have the advantage and the opportunity to do that and get that education.
Wow. A lot, I agree with it all. I could only pick so much to respond and compliment to. I haven't heard Paul LeBlanc's statement, but it resonates. At best, a school is the learner's third priority. Family and work come first, always. I used to say, and I didn't even realize this, that, I should give credit to Paul for that. I used to say, school will also be a person's third highest expense: rent, car, school. And once that's out of line, they're going to pay rent, they're going to pay for the car. School will take the sacrifice. It's almost along the line. So, like, the mission that we have as educators is to recognize the tension between idealistic theoretical learning for the luxury of being immersed in knowledge versus the practical, dirty reality of, I have rent to pay, gas to put in the car, and I have 3 children waiting for me at home who need to eat. And can I take an online course, learn something to accelerate my career, and go from X to making X plus Y now in 6 months?
Yep, absolutely. And I think also we've opened opportunities by having more seats, right? And you have a traditional classroom, you have room for 20 students. That's all I can take. I'm going to take the 20 most qualified students and put them in those seats. Online, we're not necessarily restricted by number of seats. We are restricted by the class size that we want, or the number of faculty members that we can get to teach, things of that nature. But we do have an opportunity to offer opportunities to a wider array of students. And one of the things that I always look at, when we're working on admissions for our master's program, we have a university minimum GPA, of course, but I'm allowed to make exceptions or petition for exceptions to the university to say, this person maybe doesn't meet the GPA requirements, but I think they deserve the opportunity to pursue a master's degree. And most importantly, I think they can do it successfully. That's usually the primary question. If we let this person in, are they going to be successful? Because we don't want somebody to come in, take 5 classes, fail, and end up with debt and no degree. That's
Set
the
them
worst
up for
case
success.
scenario.
Absolutely. You
Right.
set them up for success.
Yep. So when I look at people, I have tons of stories of people that we've looked at, and we just ask people to be honest and tell us like what's happened. And this one always sticks out to me. It was an individual who grew up in Queens, New York, just outside of New York City. And for anybody familiar with New York City, you know, commuting around the city is time consuming.
Yeah.
And she was young, in her 18, 19-year-old self, was babysitting her younger siblings, was holding down a job and commuting from Queens to New York City to complete her bachelor's degree. This was also 20 years ago. And in the time since those 20 years, has had a phenomenal professional career. But her GPA was below the university minimum. Traditionally, you're looking at a cut line. Like, yeah, below, we only have 20 seats. All these people are above. We're just going to draw a cut line. Now we don't have to do that anymore. Now we can really practice that holistic admissions and talk to people and look at situations and say to ourselves, yeah, you know what? Her GPA wasn't there 20 years ago, but look at what this person was dealing with. And now we think they have the opportunity. So let's give them an opportunity. And we've set up a conditional admissions system where we give them the opportunity to go for a degree. And we let them take 1 or 2 classes. And if they excel in those, we let them continue on. And we monitor them and we help them to make sure they don't get themselves in trouble. And it's provided so many opportunities for people. And I don't think we would have been able to do that without the flexibility of online, to be able to open up more seats, open up more opportunities, and reach more people and give them a learning experience that matches what they need out of their lifestyles.
No, it's
That's awesome. I
awesome.
gotta jump in, Darius. Sorry, dude. Coming up on time. I apologize. Great conversation. Evan, last question from me. What do you see as the future of higher education?
Boy, I think there's a lot of change ahead for sure. I think we're going to see a consolidation of schools. We've already started to see the closure of many schools. That I think is going to continue for better or worse. I think we're going to see a short period of stagnating and declining enrollment again. We went through a period of declining enrollment. COVID bumped that up a little bit. I think we're starting to flatten out and decline a little bit more again. I think what's going to change that, and what the big turnaround for a declining enrollment is going to be, is hybrid. I think right now too many schools have on-campus operations and online operations, and they are not connected. I think what really is going to benefit students and allow them to move more smoothly and quicker, and then allow us to serve more students, will be giving students that option to show up to class today or not, and watch the recorded version online, or do the whole class online or the whole class in person. We will deliver learning experiences in a variety of ways that allow students to move seamlessly to match their needs, whether they can't make it to class because they're working, or they can't make it to class because they just prefer to study online. I think we're going to see a lot of loosening of regulations and expectations around that. No more of this just, hey, I have an attendance policy and you need to show up because I feel attendance is important. No, what's important is that we help you learn, and we offer you learning experiences that most closely match your learning style. And for that, we're going to see also more structured learning experiences. I think campus is going to learn a lot from online. Online is preparing classes, delivering classes, refining classes, meeting certain expectations for classes that are set forth by different organizations. I think we're going to see more of that bleed into traditional education as well. So I think those faculty who are working in online are going to bring those tools to campus, and I think that's going to benefit students as well. I think we're going to see community colleges continue to play a more important role. Right now, their enrollments are increasing, and a lot of it is because of dual enrollment from high school to college. And people are getting smart. People are learning, like, get those college credits in when you're in high school, and it's going to reduce your time and your expense in your undergraduate years. And what that's going to do in the short term is going to leave students feel gypped that they didn't get a full 4 years of education. So they're going to want to go on for that master's degree sooner than later as well. So there are a lot of fundamental shifts that I think are going to happen. I think there's going to be a lot of surprises along the way too. And we'll just have to all be ready to roll with those surprises and changes as they come about.
Oh, I love that hot take, man. The Masters, I love that. I never heard that one before. That is awesome.
Yep.
Great insight, Evan. I appreciate that. So let's outro Darius Goldman, founder and CEO at Career Bond. Darius, thank you for co-hosting. Really appreciate you, sir.
Love it. Appreciate your time.
Absolutely. And ladies and gentlemen, your guest today, he is Dr. Evan Crump, and he is the executive director of the College of Journalism and Communications at University of Florida. Thank you so much, Evan, for being with us.
Thank you, Elvin, and thank you, Darius. Great conversation. I enjoyed it a lot.
Awesome. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, you've just EdUp. Hope you enjoyed that conversation. Brought to you by Career Bond. Career Bond brings pre-qualified, enrollment-ready adults directly to career-focused training programs. Looking to fill seats? Visit careerbond.com. That's career-bond, BOND.com.